Right, you lot, strap in, cause today I'm going to be dishing out a good old-fashioned bollocking to Ubisoft. It seems apparently running the franchises into ground is now the top business strategy. But before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe and all that bollocks. It helps channel grow and keeps me in Yorkshire tea bags. Right, let's dive into this mess. Now look, I've been a massive Ubisoft fan since days at original Splinter Cell. But let's be blunt, shall we? Ubisoft's been bleeding relevance quicker than a leaky teabag. Ever since they decided every single game needed to be open world or a live service, they've been on a downhill slope so steep, Bear Grylls and need an extra rope to survive. And do they care? Of course not. They're too busy focusing on half-baked titles that get abandoned faster than your mate who still owes you a tenner. Look at XDefiant. Poor bugger never stood a chance. They touted it as next evolution in PvP shooters, then pulled rug out from under it. Brilliant tactic there, Ubisoft. Why waste good money on a project people were actually starting to enjoy when you could just shift your resources to yet another live service fiasco instead? Mind you, as if that weren't enough, they've got goal to keep some of the worst performing games on live support, presumably hoping we'll forget they're still around so they can charge us for DLC next week. It's like watching a sinking ship throw out life jackets with holes in them. And don't get me started on Assassin's Creed Shadows. We've seen more backlash than a politician's Twitter feed and gaming to even at you. Ubisoft's approach? Double down on questionable design choices, promise world, and then watch hype train derail. I mean, for a series that used to be gold standard as stealthy historical tourism, it's turning into Where's Wally at game design. You're searching desperately for that spark of greatness, but all you find is filler content size of Yorkshire. Every time Ubisoft announces more layoffs, studio closures, it's like hearing your favourite pub shutting down while landlords telling you everything's fine. Meanwhile, Tom Clancy's name's still shamelessly plastered on games that ironically contain less strategy than a primary school game around us. Do we really need 1,000 more open world reskins? At this rate, we'll end up with a Just Dance Battle Royale before they admit the business model needs an overhaul. It's like Ubisoft's creative meeting is just them chanting open world, open world, open world until entire boardroom collapses. Every blasted franchise they own seems to get the same rinse and repeat formula. Big map, repetitive side quests, pointless collectibles. The end. Brilliant. Because gaming world needed another copy-paste map full of meaningless tasks. Who doesn't love plodding around same environment, ticking off same mundane chores in name of player freedom? If I wanted chores, I'd duck washing up, mate. Meanwhile, what do they do with genuinely interesting games or expansions that could have been nurtured into critical darlings? They bin them faster than used tissues. These suits at Ubisoft keep chanting about player engagement and long-term monetization, but from where I'm standing, it looks more like hamster wheel. Only one's truly engaged are accountants spinning microtransaction numbers, and guess whose wallet they're eyeing next? And let's not skip over Looming Spectre Assassin's Creed Shadows. Everyone's jumping on Backlash train, complaining about half-baked design decisions that feel more like cheap add-ons than actual cohesive story. Irony is that series once stood for innovation. Now it's more formulaic than a takeaway pizza. Sure, you'll eat it, but you're never exactly thrilled with taste. Word on street, or at least in places like Reddit and certain leaky Twitter accounts, is that Ubisoft's higher-ups are in denial about community feedback. Big shocker there. If they actually listen to the fan base, we won't be stuck in this swirling sinkhole of half-baked live services and identity crises. So yeah, if you're into collecting unfinished business, Ubisoft's your one-stop shop. At this rate, we'll see them announce yet another innovative open-world game right after they close a few more studios and cut even more staff. It's like rearranging deck chairs on Titanic, except Captain's too busy flogging microtransactions to notice iceberg. As a fan of old days, tight mission structure of Splinter Cell, glorious second-screen hacking in Watch Dogs. Aye, maybe not so glorious, but you get my point. It's sadder than a Yorkshire Sunday roast without gravy. But that's Ubisoft for you. Kings of repetition, sultans of short-sightedness, barons of bungled potential. Cheers, lads. At least you're consistent. Consistently daft. If you're still holding out hope for Ubisoft to do something right, you must also believe in fairies and that your boss actually reads your emails. Because from where I'm standing, It's all starting to look like a corporate Monty Python sketch we had to punchline. According to rumours floating around on Reddit and tidbits and places like IGN and PC Gamer, there's been a lovely trifecta of bad news. More studio closures, more layoffs, and another wave of potential cancellations lurking in shadows. It's like they're performing their own real-life version of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, except this time they're assassinating their own staff and projects instead of Templars. Classy move, Ubisoft, because gaming industry needs more talented devs looking for work in a job market as welcoming as disturbed hornet's nest. And kicker? They're still clinging on to underperforming live service duds with alt desperation or a toddler hugging a half-eaten lollipop. Meanwhile, actual gems, or at least games that could be polished into somewhat semi-decent, are getting chopped. Beyond Good and Evil 2? Development hell for over a decade now. Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake. Stuck in same time loop paradox. If I didn't know any better, I'd say Ubisoft's board members are fans of Greek tragedy, but that might be giving them too much credit. Let's not forget Ghost Recon. Remember absolute shambles that were Breakpoint? I mean, I did kinda enjoy playing it. I never spent a penny on it, so why not? AI so questionable it made you yearn for days of dial-up. Ubisoft's response to that fiasco were basically, better luck next time, folks. Now buy our microtransactions and be grateful we acknowledge your existence. And sure enough, when community revolted, what did Ubisoft do? Gave us some half-baked patches, then pivoted to next big shiny project that got delayed or cancelled anyway. Ace strategy. Oh, and if you've noticed Far Cry looks suspiciously similar each installment, you're not alone. Reskint same formula, slap a new bad guy on cover, roll credits. Seems to be the development motto. Honestly, if I wanted the same repetitive experiences, I'd just play Call of Duty. So, in summary, Ubisoft's cutting costs left, right and centre, but still holding on to idea that 24/7 online connectivity and endless map icons are what masses crave. It's like feeding soggy chips to a pack of wolves and wondering why they're not impressed. If they keep this up, we'll be telling future generations tales of how once upon a time Ubisoft made actual games instead of corporate cautionary tales. And if, scratch that, when they do finally go under, say bye-bye to those always online titles. When servers go dark, you'll be left with a fancy coaster in a game case. Cheers for that, Ubi. Honestly, at this point, I'd wager my right arm that half of Ubisoft's boardroom meetings consist from scribbling live service on a whiteboard and then collectively clapping like seals. Must be a riot in there. Truly. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. Ubisoft's share price took a hit in recent years. Around a 57% drop. That's not a casual slip, that's a proper face-first tumble downstairs. Yet despite financial alarm bells, they keep doubling down on the same old formula, shutting down what could have been promising projects. XDefiant, I'm looking at you. And laying off entire teams who might have actually saved the sorry eyes if given half a chance. It's like firing only sober lifeguard when ship's about to sink. And real kicker? They're still pumping resources into dinosaur-like titles that barely have a pulse. Meanwhile, they're cutting studios that could have reinvigorated the portfolio. It's akin to burning roast dinner, but deciding the best solution is to chuck out potatoes while leaving charred meat on table. Absolute balmy. You ask me, borderline comedic, how many times they've tried to spin new expansions or major updates as next big thing, only to quietly bury them months later. Rest in peace, you unloved bits of DLC. Now, let's talk about Outbreak, that is Trials franchise. It's one of my guilty pleasures. A simple concept refined into an absolute gem or addictive motocross madness. Then Ubisoft slapped on half-assed monetization schemes, questionable track designs, and enough forced social features to make even Mark Zuckerberg blush. Result? Yet another game overshadowed by its own corporate meddling. It's as if they can't leave well enough alone, which, to be fair, has been the motto for donkey's years now. And then we have ongoing soap opera around Assassin's Creed Shadows. Fans are already shouting in the pitchforks, and game's not even out of oven. From leaks on Twitter to rant threads on Reddit, just the same. Repetitive gameplay, half-baked narratives, and an apparent lack of direction. All while Ubisoft pretends everything's peachy. If denial were currency, Ubisoft would be richest publisher on earth. It genuinely hurts to see one of the biggest names in gaming keep shooting themselves in foot while shouting, I meant to do that. But hey, maybe they're just stubbornly determined in becoming gaming equivalent to a cautionary tale. If they continue down this path, we'll be telling future generations about Ubisoft went from one of the most innovative companies in gaming to a boardroom of clothless suits rummaging around in binfire. Grim stuff indeed. Seriously though, you'd think after all these PR nightmares, bigwigs at Ubisoft would pause for a moment of self-reflection. But no, they'd rather funnel the cash into the next half-baked open-world game than keep the studios alive. So let's talk about these studio shutdowns. More layoffs, more developers out of work, while top brass keep patting themselves on the back for streamlining processes. Streamlining processes, my ass. It's basically corporate speak for, we messed up, but let's blame workforce instead of admitting we made rubbish decisions. They've axed more positions in last year than I've had cups of coffee this week. And trust me, that's saying something. Meanwhile, Ubisoft continues pushing live service model as if we're all clamouring for yet another subscription-based microtransaction-laden monstrosity. Honestly, if they wanted to show us all they really care about community, they'd start by listening to bloody community. But hey, who needs genuine fan feedback when you got shareholders to pander to? After all, short-term gains are far more important than, making decent games people actually want to play. Let's spare a thought for poor sods who were actually hyped for XDefiant. They had a chance there, somewhat fresh, bit of a throwback to frenetic multiplayer from Ubisoft's better days. But in typical Ubisoft fashion, the bungled launch, gave it next to no runway, then promptly pulled plug. It's like they have a fear of success. If something looks promising, they boot it to curb faster than you can say microtransaction. And yeah, I know some folks are still clinging to the notion that Ubisoft can pull a rabbit out of the hat with their upcoming release. But given the recent track record, that rabbit's more likely to be a mouldy sock. If you're hoping for a phoenix from ashes moment, you might want to brace yourself for a pigeon coughing up feathers instead. Because at this rate, Ubisoft's going to keep making the same mistakes until they're down to a skeleton crew in a single office, pushing out mobile tie-ins for franchises we all forgot existed. Meanwhile, rest of us are left wondering, what happens if Ubisoft does go completely belly up? Those online games we pay good money for, will vanish faster than free cake in an office. That's real kicker. We're at mercy of their servers. Moment Ubisoft decides it's not profitable, poof, gone forever. It's ultimate example of corporate short-sightedness. Dangle that digital carrot, but be prepared to snap it away whenever profit margin dips. We hadn't even touched on the more bizarre ventures, like that time they tried to jump on NFT bandwagon with Ubisoft Quartz. Remember that? A valiant attempt to flog digital tap that nobody asked for. We're like watching your granddad discover TikTok and decide to become an influencer. Awkward, misguided, and painful to witness. Then there's Rainbow Six Extraction. Because what world we're desperately craving were a co-op alien shooter spin-off that had less staying power than a wet sparkler. Brilliant. That game landed with such a thud it practically registered on Richter scale. And yet Ubisoft kept a stiff upper lip, acting as though it were a misunderstood masterpiece. Reality? People logged off faster than you can say, what's my refund policy? And it's not just new stuff that's underperforming, it's legacy brands as well. According to industry analysts and usual scuttlebutt and Reddit, Ubisoft's once golden franchises have lost their luster. Far Cry's stuck in a rinse and repeat cycle. Ghost Recon's still trying to pick up pieces after Breakpoint. An entire Tom Clancy name is being slapped on everything except perhaps a cooking simulator. Just you wait, that might be next. It's like they know these IPs are valuable, but they're so desperate for quick wins they'll throw them at any half-finished project and hope that somehow it turns into the next big thing. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Meanwhile, suits at Ubisoft keep trying to pivot, a fancy business term for scrambling around blindly while shareholders start breathing down their necks. More layoffs, more job cuts, more studios shutting the doors. Honestly, it's like they're playing real-life Monopoly but forgot that eventually bank runs out of money. So they cling on to the precious live service titles, presumably because they think all these microtransactions and expansions will keep them afloat. But you can only squeeze community's wallet so many times before we collectively bugger off elsewhere. As much as I love to roast them, it's also a bit sad. Ubisoft used to crank out classics that genuinely shook up industry. Now they're doubling down on poorly executed open world and bloated service games like it's some sacred doctrine. And when they do finally kick bucket, well, tough luck if you've spent a fortune and they're always online nonsense. They'll vanish quicker than a free pint at closing time, leaving behind naught but a digital tombstone and a sour taste in our mouths. If you've stuck around this long, congratulations. You got more patience than their board of directors. Now, I could wrap this up with some sugar-coated message about how there's still hope. But let's be honest, if Ubisoft don't pull its corporate head out of its backsides, we're going to see a once great publisher fade away into gaming version or a black hole. But it's not all doom and gloom, folks. Maybe, just maybe, they'll have an epiphany. Ditch all half-baked schemes and bring back proper polished games that respect both players' time and intelligence. Like XDefiant. Then again, maybe pigs will fly. Whichever comes first, eh? Anyway, that's enough from me. If you enjoyed this rant, do your civic duty. Smash that like button, hit subscribe and leave a comment below with your thoughts and gaming stories. I might just feature them on channel. Don't forget to join Discord, follow me on X, and channel memberships are available. All links are down in the description. I'll see you next time, you magnificent.